What's up, you guys? I don't have my mic right now, so I apologize that the audio is crap, but man, it is about the most perfect temperature that I've experienced in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's like 70 degrees. I'm in eastern Indiana. No breeze or wind. It's just still quiet. Had storms, pretty crazy, for the last few days. But I got great sleep today. I'm just got some coffee, so I'm getting ready to go for the night. And I wanted to talk in this video about one of the ways to kind of survive, at least in my view, one of the ways to survive what's happening in freight, what's been happening in freight for a really long time. This conversation's come up quite a few times in the last couple days in Discord voice chat. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. Alright guys, I don't know if I said it at the beginning. If I didn't, Eric here, Driveline World's okay steering welder. I don't know if I said it in the beginning. I may be repeating myself. Anyway, I gotta clean my mirrors and my windows here in a second. Don't really want to, but I can't stand it if there's a layer of film between me and my mirrors. If I drove in the daytime, I wouldn't notice as much, but at nighttime, you really see it. So I'm going to deal with that here shortly. But which, by the way, those little things that they put on these Freightliners, they're like these little things to direct the water off the windshield down the window instead of letting it hit the mirrors. I think is what the design is for. I think that's how it's been explained to me, and I think that's what it's for. Well, it doesn't hit the mirrors as hard with water, but instead it just sends the water down the window, which does no good. It does, like that. If you're just directing it off the mirror and onto the window, then the visibility problem is still there. In fact, I think it's worse. I think in this truck it's worse than if they just left those things off of there and just let the water do what the water's going to do. The only difference that it might make is it might keep less water from hitting the top of the window and coming into the window when I have it cracked when I'm driving. Maybe that happens. But water still hits the mirror, and a lot more of it gets on the window. But anyway, I digress. So obviously I pull prime freight, and I know the last video aggravated a few. I had to delete some comments because some of you just can't control yourselves. But I realized that a lot of the internet just cannot tolerate me saying anything good about prime, or anyone saying anything good about prime. Like it's like prime derangement syndrome. So, but in this video, I'll probably make some of you happy. If I were coming into prime right now, I cannot see, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for me to say. By the way, and someone left a comment on my last video, oh, 4,500 gross. The whole point of my last video was that I did 4,500 gross on 1,500 miles. That means my average for the week was $3 a mile. Someone comes along and says, "Oh, well, you're renting your truck." It's funny to me when people just come and assume things. I don't have rent on this truck. I don't have a payment on this truck. So to me, $4,500 on 1,500 miles is a lot different than it is for a lot of other people. And I have multiple trucks. So you can't just come watch a video and just make all these assumptions. It makes you look really stupid. So, but I've been in this conversation quite a few times in the last few days. I don't think I could swallow a $1,600 a week payment. I just don't. And that's kind of where you're at if you come in and lease purchase a brand new truck. Somewhere in that range. I've heard different numbers. I've heard 15, I've heard 17, I've heard 16. I'm not sure exactly what the number is. Maybe let me know in the comments if you're in a brand new truck. I just don't think I would do it. Now, it's hard for me to say that because I've been doing this for almost 7 years. So I have different expectations. I'm not brand new. I know my value and I know my worth. And before some of you say, oh, you drive for Prime. You have no idea what I make. You have no idea what I make. I don't talk about what I make. But if I did, a lot of you wouldn't believe me. So I just don't. But with multiple trucks, I'm just telling you, I'm in a good, finally in a very, very good position. Okay. So thinking in terms of like, would I start all over with that kind of a weekly fixed cost? I don't think I would, man. And the reason is that everything is far more expensive. Everything is like 35 to 40% more expensive than it was 6 years ago. Everything. And a lot of things are up 100%, okay? And so the fact that the payments are up, the truck payments are up about 60% increase in the fixed cost payments over 5 years ago. Yet the average gross revenues are down. It just does not make sense to me. The lease model right now with Prime does not make sense to me. It just doesn't. And I know some of you are out there making money, and that's great, good for you. But I don't think the money that you're making is the same as the money we were making when we came in and leased a truck 5 years ago. And I don't think I just don't think it's worth it. That's just my opinion. That's why I just don't. Like, I don't know how accurate their average solo weekly pay is. They send these messages out, and the last one I think was $1,280 a week, pre-tax net. With that much liability on you as a lease operator, pre-tax, I don't think that's worth it. I really don't think that's worth it. So, and maybe it is to some, but the thing is I could make that doing something at home. You know what I mean? Like, I could make that being a yard dog or something like that. Now, granted, that's got all of its complexities and working at a warehouse, and you know, there's a lot to complain about with that. But maybe if I was brand new and I was broke, because I was brand new and I was broke when I came to Prime, maybe I would feel differently about it. And I've been broke multiple times through my Prime journey. But I just, where I'm at right now, I can't see it. I can't see having that much liability. I don't think you would ever be able to go home. That's way too much of a weekly fixed cost for you to eat. I think you would never be able to go home for a week, because you would be, you know, $1,600 in the hole. So anyway, we got into this conversation, and there was somebody in voice chat like a week ago who drives for, I can't remember who he said, Hurricane or someone. And he was going through all the numbers, and it was worse than Prime. It was worse than Prime. Now, the payment itself wasn't worse than Prime, but when he was talking about the insurance and all this other stuff, it was like, oh my God, it ended up being about $2,000 a week in fixed cost. I don't know I think he said Hurricane, but I could be wrong. So I'm not going to like allege that it was Hurricane. But anyway, my point is, if you've got that kind of a weekly fixed cost, in this environment with freight where freight is, volumes where volumes are, especially in reefer freight, your margins are going to be really tight. And the only way that you can have any control over that is to, bring down your cost, bring down what you're spending on everything. I've said this before, but man, I've become vicious. I've become vicious on how I spend and what I spend. Like fifth wheel grease, load locks, glad hand seals, gloves, anything that I order for my truck, I order off online. I do. And I hate that, that I'm not giving that business to someone locally or something, but I'm not paying truck stop prices. And I ended up saving 20, 30, 40, sometimes like on those glad hand seals, they want $4 or $5 for 2 of them. I'm paying $20 for 100. Like I've just become vicious in just refusing to have to spend money on anything out here when it's going to cost me 30% less or more to order it before I go home and have it there and have it ready to get stocked on the truck. Now, sometimes you're just going to have stuff that you need. But like right now, I'm out of like most stuff on my, paper plates and all that stuff. So I'm just trying to get through this next few days because I'm just not going to go spend, what these truck stops want. I don't eat in truck stops. I did have Subway the other day, but I use points for Subway. And I usually have Subway one time every 3 weeks that I'm out. But I don't eat in truck stops. Occasionally I'll buy like Honey Nut Cheerios or something in Love's, but I use points for that. And it's really expensive. Like they want like $7 or $8 for a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. But in a bigger sense, if I were to expand and order new trucks, which that is on the horizon for me, I would not buy a brand new truck. Not right now, because I'm just not going to get into that kind of a payment. It's a much different environment. I would go for something, as low mileage as possible with as much warranty as possible. I'm getting ready to extend the warranty on this truck. Because everything just costs so damn much. So if I were, going into a new truck, I want that payment down in the $900 range. I'm not doing $1,600 because I'm not going to be a slave to the truck. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be a slave to the truck if the number that they're talking about is accurate. I'm willing to do it if the money's crazy good, or if the money's even reasonably good. But if it's not, no, not going to do it. Now, again, if I were brand new, I'd probably have a different perspective on this, because if I were brand new, maybe I don't need to be as home as much. I mean, back when I was new, I had Jenna with me on the truck. I had the dogs with me on the truck. So it wasn't a big deal to be out there running the way we ran our first year. And we ran everything they threw at us, and I think we might have turned down like 2 or 3 loads. And I'm still grateful for that decision, because it taught me Prime's freight lanes. It taught me where to go and where not to go, what to run and what not to run. So, certain circumstances I could see if I was new. Again, if I didn't have to be home, didn't have a family at home or something like that, and I could just run and live in the truck for a year just to learn the business and learn the lanes, maybe. But man, I just have a really hard time thinking of swallowing that pill with the prices being what they're at and the cost being what it's at. So all this to say, at the end of the day, and I've said this before on this channel, you got to control your cost, man. If you're going to survive this, that's what every company's doing right now. That's what Prime is doing. Prime's charging us $5 more for the world's worst truck wash. So, and it just seems so petty, but that's what every company's doing. Every company out there they're having meetings probably on a regular, if not daily, of how can we cut cost on anything. And it doesn't matter if it saves them 5,000 or 5 million. I'm sure they're out there with the spreadsheets and the pen and paper and just trying to find anything that they can cut any dollar from. And that's what you should be doing too. And most certainly is what I'm doing. And that's what's made this not only tolerable, but work really well for me, because I've just clamped down on everything. I'm not trying to go wild on. I'm just controlling my cost on everything. I don't pay for coffee. I don't pay for parking. I don't pay for showers. I don't pay for any of that stuff, man. Like, it doesn't matter if it's $1 or $50. Like, I'm sure these truck stops hate me because all I'm buying from them is fuel. That's it. That's the only business they're getting from me, because I just can't. I'm not doing it. I need to buy my son stuff. I need to feed my family, not get myself expensive stuff at truck stops. So that's that's really the answer. And again, this conversation's come up like 5 or 6 times over the last 3 days, and every time I'm like, hey, how many times do you eat at a truck stop? When was the last time you bought, coolant or whatever, gloves, safety vest? And all of a sudden I start finding that these guys are buying all this stuff in truck stops, all of it. And it's like, dude, do you realize if you spent, say, $500 on all this stuff that you've been buying over the last 6 or 7 weeks, and I don't know whatever that number is, but let's say you spent $500 and you could get it all for $300 online, that's $200 that you just took out of your pocket. And that's probably applicable in a lot of other areas of your life. I'm getting ready to cancel some subscription services, which I don't have too many, but like Sling's gone. I'm getting rid of that. Paramount, just any little thing like that. I'm just done, man. The value is not there on what we're spending for most of this stuff out there. I'm done. So that's something I'm going to be doing when I'm home, is just going down through every little subscription I have, and do we use this, and is it worth it to us? Do we use it enough, and is it worth it to us? And if it's not, it's out. It's done. Because again, even if it's $50 or $70 a month and I can cut that way, well, if I can find 5 or 6 other ways to cut $50 or $70 a month, then we're talking real money. So that's kind of my advice to you, is just like, you gotta do what these companies are doing. You gotta get a spreadsheet or a notepad out, and you gotta really sit down with a pen and paper and go through every single thing by detail and find anywhere that you can cut cost, because that's what all the companies that are going to make it through this, that's what they're doing. So don't think that you don't have to do that, because I got news for you. I say it again and again. I don't think this is getting any better. I think I had a great week last week. It was amazing. I've got 2 pretty good loads that I've started this week with, but I don't see that as, I think it's just a fluke or just kind of luck of the draw, because I'm talking to a lot of drivers right now that are experiencing the opposite. Both prime and outside of prime. It's not just prime. So anyway, love to know your thoughts. Let me know. Be safe, make good decisions, always drive with Thrive. I'll talk to you all soon.